Good morning, parents. Thank you so much for joining us today. Um, so we will make it. It's good. It's scheduled to be an hour long, but if we do have it shortened, we can end it quickly. Um, just for the benefit of those people who are not able to be here today, we will be recording this session. And it's also for you to refer back if you have any questions or if you missed out anything during this session. Let me just give a run through of what we're planning to do today. We will be doing an introduction of the Catalyst program in itself. We will also be sharing some student reflections about what they have learned. And also there will be some parent sharing and ending it with a Q&A session at the end. Let me just introduce to you the Catalyst team over here. So we have Martin Williams, who is the PLC lead for Catalyst. We also have Lawrence Shackelford. He goes by the name Shaq. He's also one of the Catalyst teachers with Jennifer Norman and Ashley Cork as well. They are both supporting, teaching the program. So let me hand you over to the next speaker to introduce to you what Catalyst is all about.
Martin, I think you're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, good morning. My name is Martin Williams. This is my 11th year now at SAS. And for those who are unfamiliar with Catalyst, it's a year-long, semester-long graduation requirement for high school that can be taken either in junior or senior year. And it represents probably about 45 hours class time for students. And students get to choose a project that really they're only limited by their creativity in terms of the scope of the potential of the project. In terms of our role as teachers, we're really, our role is to set up a structure and a framework that allows students to select projects and to work towards a goal. Probably the most challenging aspect, I think, of Catalyst is that for students is the degree of independence they get. There are very few classes where they get this amount of independence, and the sort of things they end up struggling with are things like setting goals and reviewing those goals, determining what their milestones are. So it doesn't tend to be around the technical aspects of the project, the learning. It tends, many of the difficulties tend to be more around the sort of the project management, and because it's very new to them. And I'd just like to pass on now to Stephanie Richards.
Okay. Hello. Am I on? I can't see myself here. Hello.
You're good.
I'm good. Okay. Hello, my name's Stephanie Richards, and I'm a part of the Catalyst team. I'm actually the learning support part of the Catalyst team, and I'm going to talk to you about the type of project and what we're actually really looking for from students in this Catalyst project that they work on. We've said we're on the next slide. We are. Okay. We're talking about here about perfectionism versus learning and growth. So very much the focus for us is on learning and growth for their project. So a lot of students are, they think, I guess they're always thinking that we're looking for perfection, whatever that actually is. And what we found is that perfection, or aiming for perfection, actually encourages students to make safer choices about what they'll do rather than pushing themselves out of their comfort zone. So what we want to do is get students to take risks into learning something new, something they don't already know how to do. So we don't want them to pick a project that they already know a lot about that and they already know the perhaps the ways in which they're going to impart this knowledge, because then it really wouldn't be, they're not really learning very much. They're just showing us what they already know. So this whole idea of Catalyst is to try and learn something that they are passionate about and something that they don't already know. So I guess that's moving out of their comfort zone into areas of new growth for them. Oh, probably should have said my name is Stephanie Richards and I'm a learning support teacher and I've been at SAS for 6 years. Sorry. Okay. I think Jen, is that you up next?
Yeah, I am. Thank you very much. So I just want to build on what Stephanie was saying. My name is Jennifer Norman, and I'm also part of the Catalyst team on the technical side, but I will also be one of the full-time teachers next year as well. So we've gained our inspiration from this book called How to Begin by Michael Stanier. And in his book, what he talks about are 3 pillars. And so we've built this program, our Catalyst program, we've relaunched it, reimagined it under these 3 pillars of thrilling, daunting, and important. And this is what Stephanie was just talking about. And so as we build this program and use this framework of thrilling, daunting, and important, that's exactly what we want the kids to think about. Is we want them to pick something that's thrilling. And by thrilling, what we're talking about is we want them to be proud about what they're doing. And we don't want them to pick something just because they feel obligated to create a project just to be done to satisfy the requirement. We actually want them to enjoy what they're doing. For daunting, exactly what Stephanie just said. We want them to step out of their comfort zone. It should not be something that they already know how to do. And so growth does come from learning. And so we really would like them to pick something that's daunting. And finally, we use the word important. It's something that's a little bit bigger than themselves. And we always use this phrase of we want them to give more to the world than what they take. So we've outlined, or when we teach the class, we teach from this framework of thrilling, daunting, and important. So what I'd like to do is now pass this back to Stephanie as she talks about why we need mentors.
Yes, so the mentor program is actually a really crucial part of, well, we see as a crucial part of the whole Catalyst project. It's really a key component in terms of encouraging the students to work either with experts in their field or not necessarily even an expert, but somebody who has been in the workforce, somebody who understands how a project might work, and also just another adult that the students don't know. For a lot of students, they are used to dealing with adults in their lives who are either connected to their family or who are at school, and they're very safe people. They know all of the teachers, they could approach anyone. And that's great. That's what we want. We want students to feel comfortable, but this idea of getting a mentor is for them to start just taking a small secure step outside of, again, their comfort zone into working with an adult that they don't know, learning how to communicate in a professional way. And it can be a little bit daunting for students to do that. And some of them have different levels of experience with dealing with adults who aren't teachers or connected to their families. So it's an important skill for them to learn. And there's an awful lot, which you'll see in what we've got coming up in the next slide, about what students actually can get out of that mentor partnership that they have with people in the SAS community. So yes.
All right, thank you. And so what Stephanie was just alluding to is a video. We collected student reflections on their time that they spent with their mentors. And so we invite you to sit back and enjoy just some of the reflections that our students had about their experiences.
My project was taking a look at whether language is indicative of mental health. So in other words, could you go online on social media and take comments that people post, take the language that they use in those comments and manipulate it, quantify it, to determine if they are depressed or not.
Designing a comic, so this would mean I would draw all my characters, draw all the scenes, and also write the narration for my comic.
And that is what my MVP was, a basic chat in the interface with students to answer the message and text each other?
I'm focused on two aspects of music therapy, which is art therapy and symbol therapy. It is based on interior design. And the role of my interior designer is to create and design a space aesthetically pleasing to somebody else.
My project was working in stroke rehabilitation from a company that I did an internship with 2 summers ago, and
My Catalyst project was about analyzing media and LGBT representation in media, and how has it influenced the LGBT community and how it can do harm or how it can do good for the LGBT community.
A project about national service in Singapore. And it's a website, information-based website, which highlights important facts about national service and what people need to know about national service.
And my project was to create a poetry book based on mental health illnesses. And so I wrote about 44 pages worth of poems and facts. And my end product was a book.
Project was an app for judgment score. It's called Zumba, and it was just an app to score a card game with a standard deck of cards. When it came to my mentor, I actually had 4 mentors, but focusing specifically on the SAS one, is Susie Kim. One thing that she helped me do that was really important was coming up with a time frame of how I'm going to get this project done. Because this was conducting my own research, I conducted my own research, performed my own analysis, and wrote my research paper.
So in terms of the entire project planning aspect of it, how to actually, break it down so that it's much easier for me to tackle in the time frame that we get on about 4 months.
How I could, like the questions I could ask my clients before actually designing the space, and we discussed about how she could help me along the process and give me the little push I need to get me along through the process more smoothly.
And she helped me read over my poems and feedback on stuff that I've been through.
Basically, I talked to him about bi-weekly about what I was doing, what I had done so far, and all the questions I had for him and my future process. So essentially, we talked about my plan for the UI, my UI itself, my interview questions, my app, where I was with my app, how far along I was, what struggles I had, and we constantly kept planning things out for the future. And we also kept talking about my process and how I was doing.
She also helped come up with ideas like a survey, which that really talks about learning about. She also helped guide me through analyzing research.
The added value of working with her was, well, just being able to organize all this into my secret schedule was, well, that was a lot of value added.
The added value of working with a mentor is that I got introduced on the complexities of the project that I did not recognize when I was doing it. My mentor was Mr. Colleague who actually helped me, who was actually one of the head of the APAC at Google, and she actually helped me understand the different complexities and the different nuances that are to building an app and how it is such a large puzzle that you can't simplify everything down into parts.
They make you think differently about your project and how you can make it better. And having support really is one thing that helps.
talking to him about my ideas, talking to him about the progress that I've made, and keeping me on track. I also worked with someone outside of school as kind of an informal mentor figure, and I would discuss with him the context for making the videos.
We talked about how we can create a video with scripting. If I had set up more meetings with her with this idea, I feel like she definitely could have helped me more.
The value of working with my mentor is she's actually kind of good at just reading myself and making me go further with my writing.
He actually had a lot of value because his job was to do exactly how he was helping me. It was basically how the UI connects to the users and how the UI can be made better for the app. And he really helped me a lot just because he had a lot of experience. He had a lot of co-workers working on apps currently. She actually referred me to a database that I'm using right now and made my life significantly easier. He also made my UI a lot cleaner and a lot better for the users just because it was more condensed and there was less information on the screen for users to constantly switch between. He also helped me a lot with my planning and inspiration from other apps because
he made me go out and look for other apps that did similar things. And that way I could actually make my app better because I took inspiration from them.
Miss Susie Kim, my mentor, she added value to my work as she helped me come up with ideas for things.
Well, she spent by thinking, understanding what it takes, the amount of time that needs to be done in order to come up with a good research paper by a certain time frame. And so she expanded my thinking in that way by helping me realize that this is what I need to do before taking on any research project.
You asked me various questions. Some of which I did actually only answer, but it made me critically think about my project and maybe understand my project further. And for that, I'm incredibly grateful for the help.
And I think that's the same thing as her expanding my thinking, to help me visualize more, and I very appreciate that.
Another way I helped me expand my thinking is she read some of the article, and gave me some advice as to what I could change to make it look nicer. Just some change of some different words, phrases.
More things I could add to my website to make it more valuable, more benefits for types of therapy with reversible therapy.
And he actually found my thing a lot because he was constantly asking me questions about my project. Instead of just giving me answers, he kept questioning why I did what I did, how I was going to move on. And he kept asking me these kind of questions just because it helped me expand my thing. It helped me make my project what it is today, just because I couldn't have done any other thinking without the questions he asked me. I couldn't have possibly come to the more condensed UI if he didn't ask me. I moved that from the nameplate from the bottom to the top, or condense the way I was writing a scoring, or change the way my leaderboard looked, and actually helped a lot all in all.
And for me, working with my mentor is actually really helpful because there's so many moving parts to my project and I kept changing, and I do have issues with procrastination and staying focused. I found that my mentor, Ms. Susie Kim, was very, very helpful in making sure I stay on direction and stay on track. And I thought that in the end, those calls made sure that I had something to show for her every week that we did call, and it also made me keep myself on track as well. So overall, I thought that the mentorship was really helpful and really special.
Okay, hopefully you enjoyed that because our presentation is sort of twofold. It's to demonstrate, what we've been doing all semester, but at the same time, show how valuable our mentors are to our program. And so on the call today, we have two of our current members or our mentors, Ms. Susie Kim and Mr. Jason Coates. And so what I'd like to do at this time is just invite them to unmute and really share about the experiences that they've had as mentors, and just to reflect on some of the commitments that they made, and just kind of tell us a little bit about your experiences.
I guess I'll start first. Again, my name is Susie Kim. I have 3 kids at SAS, 10th grade, 7th grade, and 3rd grade. We've been at SAS for 6 years now. So just a little background, I think partly because of myself, partly because I think everybody says, oh, what can I contribute if it's not exactly if I'm not the expert in the field that the kids want to do. So just a little background of myself. I just have a biology degree in public health, and I just have done clinical research for a little over 15 years. So none of those exactly lined up with the 3 kids that I work with this past semester. And on top of that, I haven't worked in 7 years. So one of the things that I really hesitated with, even being a mentor, is what could I actually contribute, especially if I'm not working at this moment in time. So areas that reflecting back and thinking about what I wanted to share this morning, I sort of outlined a few things in my head of what are areas that I, as an adult, as a parent in this community, wanted to share, wanted to contribute, are areas that we can still contribute even if we're not experts in the field. So having the expertise in the field is a given. That's easy. You know exactly what they're talking about, how to help them with the programming, how to give them insight into what all is happening in the field, the changes that are happening. So that's an easier one, I think, that everybody can understand. Time management, as the number of the kids talked about, is a big one. Our kids at SAS or anywhere kids, you know, high school and down, they're given timelines. You know, you have this date to work towards, and your next project is going to be due on this day and due on this date. But with Catalyst, there are dates that the teachers are going to expect certain products and outputs and updates. But as far as them conducting their project and the end date of, let's say, May 13th, I think, or 14th was the due date, they have to work themselves up to that date. And what does that take? So it is one of the things that I think Martin may have mentioned, I think Martin mentioned at the very beginning, that it is helpful as the adults in this sort of mentorship student to help them stay on track and be part of it. So that's something that we can contribute. And as a non-expert, if it ends up being that you're not expert in the field, is still asking questions about the topic. And as I don't know much about these topics and I ask just general questions, the kids are able to process what do they know and how to relay that message and their learnings and what they research to somebody else. Is just solidifies for them and what they think they know about the topic. So just asking questions as a non-expert, I think, is helpful. And the flow of what they're creating. Some of them created questionnaires. One of them created a website. One was a webtoon, but it is still the process and the flow that I think is helpful to actually say, you know, what would fit better here? What would be the next step? And just looking over a view of the flow is helpful. So things that I try to remember, which I guess could be advice to other mentors, is at the beginning, do our best to understand why the student chose this topic, and what is it that you want to create? What is your end product that you want to have at the end, and why? And what triggered the idea? And having sort of that understanding will help you as a mentor along the process. And understand that their projects will morph over the period of the semester. So just using the student that wanted to do the webtoon, she ended up doing the webtoon, but at the beginning, her idea was to create a 3D and all that. So it was a lot more complicated and a lot more things that was going to be time consuming. And as time rolled out, and her being a senior, there was just a lot happening. And so we ended up with Webtoon, still great products, still a lot of things that she wanted to say, but the core of why she wanted to create it was important, right? Because that's why she wanted to do this project. So one of the things that we kept talking about during her project, regardless of what her end product would be, was to remember, you know, what is the message? What is it that you want to script? Are the things that you're writing in and putting in, is it still getting the message across? So being able to engage that way. So that's why understanding the project and what is it that they wanted to create is helpful from the beginning. And time flies by. And as much as this should be, the interaction between the student and the mentor should be led by the students. But I think the responsibility can be shared between us and them. In the perfect world, the students are able to drive all that and be able to do a great job and ask you questions and be that. But, you know, again, they're only in high school. And I think we can share that responsibility again to keep them engaged and to make sure they're working on their timelines properly. One of the things that I did with a few of them was to actually ask them to work their way backwards. So your date that you're going to finish your product is May, I forget, 13, 14. So work your way backwards. How much time do you need to do this part? How much time do you need to do this part? And we actually, one of them showed me a calendar and she was just jotting it down. And so her being able to work her way backwards she was able to see what are the things that, and if I just miss it by one day and how many days, because time flies by and you forget how much time you're going to need for each of those things. So I think think that was helpful for them. So the experience is wonderful working with them. I think it just makes us feel young in some ways to work with them and remembering all the wonderful creative ideas that they can have and share with you. And, you know, we all have kids at SAS, and this being able to contribute this way back to the community as a parent, I think is a wonderful opportunity. So hopefully there'll be a lot more interested parents next year. Thank you.
Yeah, I would reiterate a lot of what Susie just said. I'm as a parent, I have a 10th grader, 8th grader, and a 6th grader. So my daughter's actually going to do Catalyst next year. So it was kind of interesting for me to just see how does Catalyst fit into the high school curriculum? How does Catalyst link to TriTime in middle school? And how are the kids kind of developing these skills to be able to think about an original project on their own? And the time spent, I think, you know, we all think that, you know, being a mentor requires a huge amount of time. It doesn't really require a huge amount of time. The role of mentor and mentee is the onus is really on the mentee, right? To engage with the mentor when they need help, when they need assistance. And so there are certain checkpoints that are required. I guess 1 or 2 meetings per month, or however, I don't remember exactly how many times they're required to meet with the mentor. But you're going to have different kids that want to engage more, and other kids who want to engage a minimal amount, and that's okay, right? The time spent really depends on the student that you match with, and if you find a good fit, whether it's based on some sort of subject matter expertise, or just you relate to the student, or you like the project, or you have other kind of time management skills to be able to provide or guide the student through. Yeah, it's really about kind of working with that student and helping them through their process. From what I felt was the most, maybe not even the most difficult, but the most interesting was just to ask questions, right? So as a third party that's outside the school, adults, you know, asking them questions about why their project is important to them, right? And sometimes, you know, they might write it down, but they haven't really articulated it to somebody outside of a teacher or maybe a peer. So having to then answer that to somebody who really doesn't know anything about them was I felt that that helped the student kind of really think about why they were working on what they were working on. And then asking them why their project is important in the context of their community. So it's not just a project where they are just ticking the box and trying to fulfill some sort of a requirement and get a good grade on, but they really start thinking about, okay, if I'm going to dedicate 50 hours to something, why is it important to me? What skills am I going to benefit from learning how to do animation, or build a website, or interview nonprofit organizations, or learn about the needs of NGOs, or how to, you know, a member of the community can engage with an NGO. Like, these are the things that popped up for my students, and they hadn't really asked themselves the questions about, you know, what skills are they developing that are going to serve them in the future, or how is the information that they are uncovering and publishing going to perhaps help other people? How does it relate to their community? So this was very eye-opening, and a lot of the mentor experience was really just about encouraging them, right? So I think the students in SAS context, they have very high standards. So a lot of times they think, oh, you know, this is not really a good enough project. And for me to just encourage them to say, no, you're onto something here. You know, you go with that, go deeper. This is really valuable stuff, and what you're doing is amazing. I felt like just giving them that encouragement, it just kind of ignited a little bit more of a spark. And this was confirmed. Like, I was talking to Martin about this after, and he said, yeah, the vibe and the energy level of the student is increasing as they engage with people outside the school, right? If they get that encouragement, it gives them the motivation to kind of continue, maybe go deeper, maybe do a little bit, try a little harder on it. And so that was pretty awesome to be a part of that experience. And, you know, at the end of it, it's 45 hours of time. You know, we really want to, you know, help the students realize that if they had 45 hours over 20 weeks, you know, what could they accomplish, right? So it's really about giving them that opportunity to say, I can do something, I can start something new, I can start a habit, I can gain a new skill in 45 hours. So that is really a lifelong learning opportunity, a skill for them to take way beyond SAS, right? So it's going to serve them in the future. So I just loved the program. I loved working with the students. It did not require a lot of time. And if we're providing some value as third parties, it was hugely worth it.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much for giving us your insights and talking about your experiences. So before we open it up to question and answer, Shireen, I invite you to come back and maybe talk about the next steps, because I know we have some people on the call that are thinking about mentorships. And maybe you can speak to that, and then we'll open it up for questions and answers. How's that?
Thank you, Jennifer. Yes, I realized that I didn't formally introduce myself earlier on as well. So my name is Shireen. So I am the community specialist here in the high school. My role is we have a variety of programs here in the high school in itself. We have a lot of the students reaching out on their own to help their projects and everything like that. We also, so that's where my role comes in to assist them to do the step forward and make the step forward and to reach out. And also when we have all these people like yourself who are very interested in working with us for this project, we do want to keep that relationship going strong. And that's where if you have any programs that you're interested in, or you feel like it's something that you can contribute to, more than welcome to. So this is my role here to ensure that there's a collaboration between not just Catalyst, but we have a lot of the other programs. So if you're interested to know more about how else you can contribute to the high school, I'm all here to help you out. On top of that, we also have the new space here. More to come after the summer. But if you have not made a visit here to the high school, I highly recommend it. There's a lot more exciting things over the years to come. But the place that we're running is the community, the co-working space in the high school. There's a lot of us. We have opened up in February, and it has been nothing less than exciting because there's a lot of activities that is going on here, and we're hoping to have more parent involvement as well. And I work with all the clubs to ensure that we have a really successful events and stuff like that. So it's really exciting year. 2023 is going to be an exciting year for everyone. And yes, so there is a mentorship, an interest form going around. So if you have any parents or you hear of anyone, this is not just for the SAS parents. It can be open to someone who is looking to give back to the community. If you would like to introduce or maybe talk about SAS, they can talk to me, and we can definitely share what programs we have and explore the different types of collaborations that we can do. So that's pretty much what I have. Jennifer, anything to add?
Excellent, thank you. So at this time, I invite you to unmute yourselves or use the chat because that's open. You've got our community leader here with Shireen that could possibly answer questions. You've got the three of us, myself, Martin, and Stephanie, that were teachers in the class, and you also have Jason and Susie that are still on the call as mentors. But we entertain your questions, and we'd be happy to answer those at this time if there are any.
Hi, sorry, this is Allison. I would just wanted to know, what is the expectation in terms of number of students to mentors?
Okay, that's a great question. When we do what we call our kind of speed mentorship or speed dating, we are trying to match up students' interest with mentor interests. And so typically what we would like to do is no more than 2. When you heard Jason, the student Jason, talking about the fact that he had 4 mentors, it's because he went out and sought additional mentors. It's not that we assigned him 4, it's that he actually took the initiative to go find more. So I would say no more than 2, but 1 for sure. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, hi. My name is Jyotsna Subramaniam. I have a question about this. I heard 45 hours and 50 hours being mentioned. I was wondering what the context is. What's the background?
That's a great question. So in a typical class, we meet approximately 45 to 50 hours. So when we talk about that time frame, we're talking about student contact time in class. But as Jason Coates mentioned, it is really up to the student to put together their project and be the project manager, and then to reach out to the mentor. So in terms of contact time with the mentor, you're probably looking at, if we said that they need to meet with their mentor at least 3 times, then you're looking at maybe 3 30-minute sessions or 3 one-hour sessions, depending on how the conversation is flowing and what the needs of the student are. But then we also ask the students, it's like, if you need more time with your mentor, then reach out to your mentor and see if they can fit that into their schedule. So the context of the 45 hours is contact time inside the classroom with the teachers.
Thanks.
So hi, this is Allison. Sorry, one more question for me. So the students define what their Catalyst project is, and upfront they define what their end goal is by the end of the term. Is all of that decided prior to a mentor being selected or assigned? Like, is that
yes
the work
and no
you're doing?
Yeah, yes and no. So the framework that we use is thrilling, daunting, and important. And so for the first 2 to 3 weeks of class, we go through those 3 pillars and we identify through a series of exercises, get the kids to really refine what their project is about and work on their driving question. And so by the time they meet with the mentors and they start in this mentorship exploration, then the child can confidently talk about what they think their project's going to be about. And then through the mentorship, they're able to refine and redefine what they think that project's about. So it's really an ongoing process. But by the time they meet with their mentors, yes, they have a general idea of what their driving question is and what their end product is. It may not, but with the flexibility of always changing that. So in the final part of the video, you heard one student talk about their project was constantly changing, and it was through the work with the mentor that they were able to land on that final product.
I'll just add on to that. As a mentor, we were asking questions, basically like the dumb questions, because we didn't know what they were really doing. So we're asking like, why is this important? Or tell me more about that. And then they would come up with, and then we'd say, well, hey, well, doesn't that already exist in SAS? Like, are you reinventing the wheel? And they'd be like, yeah, I kind of am. And then like, okay, so then what else could you do that would be like above and beyond or a value add? And so they would then modify their project to say, okay, here I'm coming in from this perspective, something else is going on, so I'm adding to that, or I'm collaborating now rather than reinventing the wheel. So there were things like that, like they had a driving question, and then we would just ask, simple questions that would help them refocus or recalibrate their idea. And then the project started to evolve. And then the second thing that I really enjoyed doing with the students was to ask them, if you were going to continue doing this for another semester, what would be the next step for you? Like, what would be the possibilities for your idea to take it one step further? Like one of my students was, she was doing a information website about crystals or planetary stones. And I said, well, what could you do, with this idea if you took it a step further? This could be a business. There are people that are doing business about this. So I was just kind of asking her, like, what else could you do as a next step if you were going to take it to the next step? And so those kinds of things, are also good for the student to realize, oh yeah, could be a linear thing that I could continue to build on as I go forward. So it's just about getting the initial idea. So the thinking for me was to always let the student know that it's not over just because the semester is over, right? If it really is an idea that you're passionate about, you could take this forward as a personal project. You don't have to stop just because the semester is over. Like, that's the whole point of education, right? Is to just continue to follow those ideas which you think are interesting. So what if you continued this? What would happen next? And it's a evolution of the idea that I enjoyed.
Excellent, thanks. Thanks for that follow-up. Any other questions? Okay, seeing that that's probably the appropriate wait time, we are recording this, and so we will make the recording available in the future use. But as it says right here on this particular slide, we will have our next mentor meeting in August of 2022, right when we first start back at school. And so we'll be gathering interest up to that point in time, and then reintroducing this particular slide deck again. And then really starting to solidify our mentorship partnerships at that time. So thank you for joining the call. Completely appreciate it. But I'm going to stop the recording. And again, like I said, we'll make this available to everybody. And Shireen, we'll make it available to you as you can pass this off into your resources as well. All right, everybody have a great day. Thank you again for attending. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Susie, for being with us and sharing your insights. Completely appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, have a great day.